Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Friendly reminder to the media who have joined us as well. We will record and post this session. If you have a question for Denny, go ahead and raise your hand. We're going to get to as many questions as we can in the time that we have. And to kick us off, we're going to start with Bob Pockrass. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Denny, I'm trying to kind of gather the etiquette that people expect playoff versus non-playoff drivers. And so, like, if a non-playoff driver did what Ryan Blaney did the other day, would that be considered, kind of not, would you consider that kind of against the code?
Well, I mean, I think we've seen in our sport there is no code. Just depends on kind of how you were, brought up and, what, kind of how your racing background is and stuff like that, whether it's acceptable or not. But certainly I would have been, more upset at Blaney at the time. Looking back on it, I mean, Ryan was 3 wide middle and just kind of steered right and cut our tire. But yet after the race, I told him, I get it. No big deal. I mean, I know it wasn't malicious. It was a mistake. And you can ask him. I said, it's all good. So, I understand it for that reason that we're all fighting for it and whatnot. But he is a car that we're battling. He's trying to get the spots as much as I am from him. And, it's hard racing amongst guys going for a championship.
And do you expect non-playoff guys to give you a little more room because you are going for the championship and that's just the way it should be, or potentially because, like, look, the favor you do it now because you expect the favor to be returned, next year if you were in the playoffs, if you're a non-playoff driver?
Well, you expect, the favors that you have be returned. And, I think wow, that's a cool plan. And so I think that, again, it's over with, but my frustration is that, if you take me out and I don't wreck you immediately the next race or the next few, then you owe me one. Right. And so it's just one of those things where I just don't understand the mentality of some of these guys. But, like I said, I also said in post-race media after Texas that I understand everyone is racing for their own individual race. You can go through the whole list of quotes that I've got. Somebody's asked me that question and I gave plenty of quotes for it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Woody Kate. Go ahead, Woody.
Hey, Denny, appreciate your time. Wanted to skip ahead a week with Martinsville being the last elimination race in this round. You've always been really good there, but I'm curious if there was a period where you didn't feel like you had the correct feel there and you just got it one day, or how that kind of evolved for you to where you're so comfortable at that track.
Yeah, I mean, it all started pretty early in my career. My rookie season was actually pretty rough at Martinsville. I remember getting into an incident and I cut a tire and backed into the wall. But I think it was probably a time where I just got lapped there. My story is very similar to, I forget who it was, whether it be Jimmy Johnson or Tony Stewart, who said that they got lapped. I think it was Jimmy. It said he got lapped early on in his career and he followed, I think, Jeff Gordon, and he just followed him. And it was like, oh, well, that's how you're supposed to do it. And so from that point on, you just kind of get it. And I think that my situation was probably pretty similar to that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, our next question is going to come from Jenna Fryer. Go ahead, Jenna.
Thanks. Hey, Denny, I guess you got kind of lucky the other day in that other guys had problems as well. Now everybody's sort of in the same boat. Shy of an outright win, what do you think is the threshold for advancing?
Well, I think that if we can run top 5 in the next 4 stages and we can finish in the top 5 the next 2 races, then I think we'll be okay. I think we'll probably be fine. A lot of it honestly depends on your competition. I think we were very, very fortunate this past weekend with all the attrition, with the competitors, getting in trouble. All of that really played a big factor into us, kind of maintaining our position up towards the top. So, feel very fortunate of that. But yeah, I think it's certainly going to take, we have to assume, right, based on past results that, one of those guys at the bottom, whether it be Joey or Martin, are going to go out and win these next 2 races. And if we do that, then that cut line moves right to me. And I'm actually +1. I'm not +9 or 8 or whatever it is. So that's what the number I'm racing to is +1 to even right now.
Aside from focusing on transferring in, when do people start thinking about, okay, we make it in, how do we beat the 5?
Well, I just think that the 5 has been very, very dominant on the 1.5-mile racetracks, and our championship is going to be decided on a mile racetrack, which is very, very different. So last year we were very good on the 1.5 miles, and we were not that strong on short tracks, and we were beat before we got there. Our cars just weren't fast enough. We knew that, and so this year, I think we've flipped it a little bit where we're actually quite a bit better on the 750s than what we are the 550s, even though we are still strong. This is by far our worst 550 race in probably a couple years, just off of speed and whatnot that we had. And we were still, a 6th to 7th place car. So I think that it's just, while we know they're, I'm not putting, their speed aside, just ignoring it. I certainly think we're just going to a very, very different racetrack that is one in itself that, again, we're going to decide a championship on this one racetrack. Hopefully your cars are fast and you're good at that one type of racetrack, because if you get to the Final Four, what you did the first 35 races does not matter.
Thanks, Denny.
Yep.
Okay, our next question will come from Dustin Long. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, Denny, can you give me a sense of the challenges of restarts at Kansas with the lanes and kind of all the things that you have to be aware of inside the cockpit at those points?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, we've actually seen as many big wrecks as we've seen anywhere, and a lot of them come from restarts, guys trying to push their lanes forward, guys, going 3 wide in a lane that closes, and it causes a wreck. So there's just a lot of pushing that goes on restarts because you're trying to get your lane to move forward and advance. And sometimes that pushing just gets a little bit too far. So Kansas has been an attrition racetrack. It really has, for whatever reason. So you got to treat it with respect. And certainly on these restarts, you got to manage your risk.
Also, why did you engage Chase Briscoe on Instagram as opposed to maybe either 1, ignoring it, or 2, doing it maybe through more private channels? Why was the need to respond in a public way, that as opposed to any other way that you could have?
Well, a lot of it is just, to me, it's the mentality that the younger guys have, right? Is that they can't pick up the phone and call you or whatever. It's, they just make immature statements on social media. So I thought I'd just go down to that level for a minute.
And did that lead to any other conversations, or did it just end?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Jordan Beyond. Go ahead, Jordan.
Danny, appreciate the time. With Formula One in the United States this weekend, I'm curious, do you have much interest in Formula One? And is it something, if you do have an interest, that's growing, in the last few years, like it seems to have, across sports in general?
I say certainly this year I probably watched more F1 races than I have my whole life, for sure. Some of that is kind of driven based off of social media. I mean, my friends are tuning into it. You see that American press is giving it more attention this year. So obviously when you see a buzz or see something on social media about it, you want to kind of tune in and see what's going on. So I think that's kind of driven my interest in it, more so than anything.
What are your thoughts as you're watching it? Are you engaging? Are you engaged by it? Are you liking it?
I am interested by it, but it's crazy because, you got a probably 90% chance of picking which 2 guys are going to win. It has been a little bit different, with craziness going on. But on speed, there's two people that can win, two teams that can win. There's not any much side-by-side racing, as compared to NASCAR. But yet fans and media love it, and they love it. And I think that Kenny Wallace actually posted a very good question this week saying, what is it? What is it that people's infatuation with it right now is? Because when you talk about how critical fans or whoever might media be of our racing in NASCAR, it is head and shoulders above anything going right now. The show is good. Why can't we get people to turn out? Texas was just a big disappointment seeing what was up in the stands there, and that yet we're talking about the biggest crowd in history showing up for COTA F1 race next week. So it's just there's some kind of disconnect that's going on that's not making this deal work. But I would love to see us kind of have more of an F1 style approach to a race weekend and how we host hospitalities, parties, just all those things. Like there's just got to be more to it than obviously us showing up and racing like we're doing now.
Last question for me on this topic. Have you watched Drive to Survive? And does that intrigue you if you have?
Yeah, I have. I when we started filming our deal with Bubba in 2311, it certainly made me tune into that to kind of see how they did the production on that. And certainly, it came across with some good storylines. Certainly, I'm a person that will tune into that series as it continues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Harry Loomis. Go ahead, Harry.
Hi, Denny. Just a couple questions for you. First off, we all kind of assumed that Kyle Larson was going to be a Championship 4 contender, and he won Texas, so he is for sure. You're sitting third in the standings now. Does it change your aggression level at all heading to two of your better tracks, knowing that a guy that you expected to be in the Final Four is already locked in?
Yeah, I think the entire field would say that was a perfect case scenario for all other 7 guys. That was the perfect scenario. And if you ask them again this weekend, I'd say that they're all probably, if they're not going to win for themselves, they're going to be rooting for the 5 to win again. And so I think that, we understand that, if anything, you got to be in the position I'm in. I've got to be even more smart with the decisions I make. I think the 22 and 19, obviously, with the hole that they're in, they're probably going to be more aggressive. So we got to be aware of that. But certainly, I think that it was probably the best situation that could have happened this weekend was the car that was likely going to get in on points no matter what anyway, win the race.
And then switching to the ownership side, obviously your priority right now is probably trying to secure a charter for Kurt Busch, but in the short term, maybe say 3 to 5 year range, do you, Michael, have any plans of maybe expanding to an Xfinity program or a Truck Series program?
No, that financial model does not make sense for us.
Okay. Thank you, Denny.
All right, we're going to fit in one final question here, and we're going to take that question from Kyle Dalton. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Denny. So, riding the high of a couple of weeks ago of Bubba winning at Talladega, and then this weekend, going out early in the race, and he was really upset. You could hear it. He talked about being embarrassed. I'm just curious if you've had a conversation with him since Texas and how that went and how you balance the highs and lows with him, because it's obviously clear he goes really high and he goes really low.
Yeah, I think that's part of our sport. I mean, it's week to week, and a lot of that comes with just time and experience on how you can be settled within yourself to understand that it's just 1 week and you move on. He's racing to improve for the rest of the year. There's really not much for goals that we have other than just work on being more competitive and continue to learn as a driver. I like his aggressiveness. I like that he was trying to be aggressive and get spots on a restart. Definitely am not going to fault him in that. I think that that win is going to, in my opinion, carry his confidence for quite a while. Although this is just kind of a little speed bump in the road for the confidence, it certainly he could go there this weekend at Kansas, where he ran actually very good earlier than in the year and had a good car. if he can run good, then I think that confidence will come right back. So yeah, it's just that's our sport. It's week to week, and you just you're only as good as your last race. So I'm sure he's probably down in the dumps a little bit this week.
Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
All right, Denny, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend in Kansas.
All right, thank you.